This case must be one of the 3 most memorable Halloween murders ever in recorded history. The ripple effect of the tragedy I am about to tell you makes parents across the world check their children's candy, still to this day, despite the fact that the killer of Timothy O'Brien was a close family member. The cause of Timothy's demise was not as a result of a stranger, but someone he was supposed to trust to take care of him and to keep him safe. Since 1958, there has been over 200 confirmed cases of poisoned candy, but it's a very rare occurrence. The first reported case was that of a dentist who laced candy with laxatives, which he gave out to children on Halloween. In Psychology Today, Joni Johnson says that only 1 in 5 poisoners ever get caught. And that it's a myth that women are mostly poisoners, compared to men. Poisoning someone takes time, planning, and cunning scheming, and is usually done by those who do not like direct confrontation. The personality of the poisoner is compared to that of a child, whose immature desire to have his or her needs met by controlling and manipulating situations at any cost. This was indeed the case with Ronald O'Brien. Ronald Clark O'Brien was born in Texas on 19 October 1944, to parents William and Elise. Ronald's mother died when he was only 11 years old and he was raised by a single father. His father worked for the Houston Chronicle, a newspaper that would report on the murder of his grandson by his son. He was actually still working there at the time the crime was reported on. Little is known about Ronald's childhood before 1974. He married a woman named Danine and the couple welcomed their first child, Timothy, in 1966. When Ronald was 22 years old. Later on, the couple had a daughter in 1969, whom they called Elizabeth Lane. On the outside, the family looked like your average middle-class household. Ronald was a deacon in the Second Baptist Church in Pasadena as well as a soloist in the church choir. He was viewed as a model citizen and was even in charge of the local bus program. His pastor even described him as an above-average father and a good Christian man. In 1974, the couple were living in a duplex in Deer Park, Texas. On the evening of Halloween, Ronald had arranged to meet up for dinner with his friend Jimmy Bates and his family, after which they would take their children to trick-or-treat in a more affluent neighborhood for better candy. After the dinner, Timothy, who was 8 years old, and Elizabeth, who was 5 years old, as well as the 2 Bates children, changed into their costumes. A light rain had started and there was a little debate about whether they should continue, but Ronald pushed for it and in the end, Kimberly, Jimmy's daughter, stayed at home as the group went out for a short excursion. Ronald was dressed in his white overall, dressed as a scientist. It was decided that Jimmy would wait on the sidewalk as Ronald took the children to the front doors. They continued with their trick-or-treating until they came to a house that appeared to be not occupied at that time. Ronald insisted that they try the doorbell anyway, but when no one answered, the children rushed off to the next house as Ronald stayed behind. 30 seconds later, Ronald joined his group with 5 massive Pixy sticks, exclaiming, "You have rich neighbors. Look what they gave me." The 5 Pixy sticks were no ordinary sugary treats. They were a kid's candy dream, with each being about 22 inches long. They were so large that Ronald offered to carry them the rest of the way. Back at the Bates home, Ronald gave 2 Pixy sticks to his own children and 2 Pixy sticks to Jimmy's children, teasing that he should keep one for himself. When a group of children arrived at the door, Ronald wondered aloud who should get the only Pixy stick left. A little boy by the name of Whitney Parker piped up that they were in the same church and that he believed this qualified him for the prize. Ronald appeared to be won over by the confidence of the little boy and with a smile gave him the last pixie stick. After all the candy was distributed and they had said their goodbyes, the family went home. Danine left to visit a friend and Ronald was tasked with putting his children to bed. As one final treat, he allowed his children to choose one candy to have before they go to bed. Elizabeth decided that she was prepared to wait until morning to eat her candy, but Timothy grabbed the pixie stick without hesitation. He struggled to get the staple open, but Ronald was more than happy to help him with the task. Once opened, Ronald also helped Timothy to dump as much of the candy into his mouth from his massive treat, but Timothy complained that the candy tasted bitter and not right. Ronald brought his oldest child a glass of Kool-Aid to dispel the taste, but within minutes Timothy was complaining that his stomach was hurting as he ran to the bathroom where he would have convulsions. Ronald held his son until the convulsions stopped, after which he dialed 911. When EMTs arrived to tend to Timothy, Ronald immediately told them that he believes that his son was poisoned by Halloween candy, but his behavior was unusual. As they tried to ask him questions about Timothy, he would double over and run to the bathroom. To first responders, it appeared that he almost did not want to answer the questions. Timothy was taken to the hospital, but by 10:30 he was pronounced dead. When the police questioned Ronald about where he got the candy, he was vague, but they were taking no chances and alerted everyone through public broadcast to immediately bring any suspicious-looking candy to the police station. This case would result in Texas not allowing trick-or-treat activities for many years to come. Police went door to door, looking for any large pixie sticks in the 2 streets Ronald had identified they had walked down. All they found were the 5 Ronald had given out. Elizabeth had hers still sealed and Jimmy's children had also not had an opportunity to eat from theirs. Little Whitney was found in his bed fast asleep, clutching his pixie stick. It appeared that he had given up after trying to undo the staple. All the pixie sticks contained huge amounts of cyanide. Back at the hospital, the investigation had been also continued. An experienced medical examiner confirmed that the strong smell of almonds on Timothy's breath was defiantly an indication that they should test for cyanide. The autopsy would confirm this, and when his stomach contents was examined, it was discovered that it contained 16 milligrams of cyanide. Timothy's mouth alone contained so much cyanide that the EMT was told that if he had attempted mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, he would be poisoned as well. All 4 of the remaining pixie sticks contained at least 2 inches of cyanide at the point it would have been opened. There was also no other candy found to have been poisoned. Ronald was not helpful during his interview, pretending not to be able to remember the route he had walked that Halloween evening. He told investigators he could not remember which house they had received the candy from, even though they had only walked 2 streets with the children. By the 3rd interrogation, he suddenly remembers which house he had gotten the pixie sticks, but he told investigators that he never saw the person, who had only stuck out his arm to hand him the pixie sticks. The owner of the house, a Mr. Courtney Melbourne, however, did have an alibi. He had been at work at the airport as a luggage carrier and he had hundreds of people to confirm this statement. His wife and children had gone to bed and turned out the lights because they had run out of candy early that evening. Thank you for watching Episode 6, Chapter 1 of the Pixie Stix murder. Please join me for Chapter 2 here on my YouTube channel.